فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. There is a red Mazda which has got its hazard lights on. So if it does belong to anyone, before the battery runs out, you may want to go and turn those off. Salvat. Bari digar salvat. ما سے اصغر
विदा होते हैं। माँ से असग़र विदा होते हैं। देखने वाले जान खोते हैं। हर मशकों से मुँह को धोते हैं। बोस ले लेके शाह रोते हैं। रन को जाते हैं, माँ बुलाती है। हाथ फैलाए साथ आती है। माँ से असग़र नज़र आया जो सामने, दरिया अरे दिल भर आया तो रो दिए। मौला गम हुआ तेश नगिए असग़र का बर के दी फौज शाम को। ये सदा गश पड़े हैं, ये हाल है इनका। सुनते हो कुछ सवाल है इनका। सुनते हो कुछ सवाल है इनका। तुमसे पानी तलाब किया, हमने दोस्त हो इसलिए कहा। हमने दोस्त हो
For the love of our eighth holy Imam, Ali ibn Musa al-Rida, Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. For Marhuma and for all of the families Marhumin, let us begin with Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Please open your Qur'ans and turn to chapter number 6, Surah Al-An'am, verse number 48 of the Holy Qur'an. So you can open that on your phones, on your apps, on Google. Chapter number 6, Surah Al-An'am, verse number 48, inshaAllah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا الممجد بشير المصدق المصطفى الأمجد محمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله على الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما نرسل المرسلين إلا مبشرين ومنذرين فمن آمن وأصلح فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على Awaited Savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, my respected teachers, elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There are 12 times in the Holy Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finishes an ayah by saying, La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. No fear shall they have, and no grief shall they have in the afterlife. How many times? 12 times in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends a verse with this phrase, La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. There shall be no khawf upon them and no grief shall they experience. This is normally quite antithetical to the way in which we imagine death and the hereafter to be. Normally for us, we imagine it and there is anxiety, there is fear about what shall happen when we die. It is the unknown after all. We are now faced with an entirely different world. We are now faced with our own deeds and behaviors. Similarly, there is grief at the idea of departing from our beloved, from our family members. And so we realize that we are now leaving them to fend on their own. A whole lifetime I have spent nurturing someone, protecting someone, being the backbone of a family, being the backbone of a community, it would be normal for you to fear what would happen afterwards. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in 12 ayat of the Quran, there are certain people in this world, لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. There shall be no fear upon them, and nor shall they grieve. So of course, what is the opposite of those two characteristics? If there is no khawf, what is the opposite of khawf? The opposite of fear? Complete security. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Nor shall be there any grief. What is the opposite of grief? Complete and utter joy is going to be the state for certain people. Now what's interesting is when you look at all of these verses, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes different people, different situations as to how you can achieve this lofty station of having no khawf and no huzn in the afterlife. We don't have time to be able to go through all 12 verses because it would be a much lengthier discussion. But what I've done is pick on one particular verse. And in that one verse, it has a particular condition that if you do X, if you do this, the outcome for you is لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. And what I want to be able to do is to explore this one condition that is amongst these 12 verses that we can think about for our own selves in terms of that destiny that we are all going to towards death, that is at every moment approaching you and I. If we want to be able to have that great level of security and joy that God is promising us, that you shall have nothing to fear from the point of death, what are those conditions that you and I have to engage in? And this is what I want to be able to talk about, inshallah, for a few minutes with you. So please open your Qur'ans to chapter number 6, Surah Al-An'am, verse number 48. This is one of the 12 verses, and there is a particular condition that is stated in order to ensure this grand outcome. Let us have a read together, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَمَا نُرْسِلُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنْذِرِينَ. We did not send messengers, but as announcers of good news and givers of warning. This is very well known. What is a messenger for? Other than to give us glad tidings of the potential of our hereafter, but also to warn us about the potential of disaster that could be ahead of us. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the following, فَمَنْ آمَنَ, whoever believes. So believes in what? Well, clearly what the prophets had brought. The prophets have brought good news and also warning. فَمَنْ آمَنَ. So if you believe in those prophets and you believe in the message that they are bringing, وَأَصْلَحَ, and you reform, you make good what you have done in your life, فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. For such people, they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. The conditions here are Iman, faith, and aslaha or islah, to be able to make amends in the things that we have done in our life. What I want to be able to think about for a few minutes is just this word wa aslaha, and what it means to be able to make amends, and one or two very beautiful, interesting narrations from our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. They give us some context to this idea of islah and reform. You know, there's an incredible story about the idea of la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. It's such a beautiful, simple story. You probably heard of one of the great ulama of the previous generation by the name of Allama Tabatabai. You probably heard of Sayyid Muhammad Hussain Tabatabai. He's the author of that wonderful tafsir Al-Mizan that so many of us read from or refer to or hear about. Allama was well known for enjoying chai. Some of us, we make sure that we have 3-4 cups. We can't go without a cup at the beginning of the day, and we can't go for a cup when we finish work. We can't go for, unless we, after food, we have to have another cup of chai. Sometimes 3 or 4 cups, mashallah, in a day. I don't know if you're a coffee drinker, but you understand what it means to be kind of, not addicted, but reliant and really enjoy your qahwa in the morning and in the evening. Sayyid Tabatabai was one of those. But not simply because he just enjoyed a chai for the sake of it. He used to spend long hours working in the night, and of course, the person needed a little caffeine kick in order to stay awake and do his work. Towards the end of his life, Sayyid Tabatabai became quite ill. And he spent a long time in and out of hospital. And on the last time that he entered into hospital, he told his wife, I will not return. This is the last time. Now, around those days, the student narrates this story about Sayyid Tabatabai. He said, Sayyid Tabatabai used to enjoy his chai, you know. But all of a sudden, he decided he'd stop drinking tea. Just cut it from his daily routine, from any meal or any work that he was going to be conducting. Just cut it. He said to him, Sayyidina, why are you stopping chai? What is the reason? He said, I have told the malaika to put the kettle on for me in the hereafter. Yes? I'm going to enjoy my chai with them. Yeah? Is there any khawf here? No. Is there any huzn here? There's no huzn. You see, it's like being welcomed into the next world, you know? It's not the malaika are tearing your soul away from your body, like dragging a piece of silk over a thorn bush. No, he wants to sit and enjoy a cuppa with the malaika and probably have some banter and a discussion with them. Maybe he'll ask them some questions. Why did you say that we weren't going to be proper khulafa of Allah on earth? Why did you say that, you, the angels, glorify Allah and that we human beings shouldn't become khulafa of Allah? Maybe he would have that discussion. But can you see, for some people there truly is no khawf and no huzn for them when it comes to the vision and experience of death. One of the conditions is وَأَصْلَحَ مَنْ آمَنَ وَأَصْلَحَ, the one who believes but also does islah. There is a sense of reform, change, betterment within himself. Now, there's some very beautiful narrations about the way in which we can do this, or how we think about the effort that needs to go into ourselves to be able to make change, to be able to better ourselves on that journey of life. That we start out as one sort of person, and that when we look back on our lives, we can see that we were able to make change from whom we were yesterday to whom we are today, where we want to get to tomorrow. One narration from the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ عَبْدًا إِذَا عَمِلَ عَمِلًا أَتْقَنَهُ. Allah loves the servant that when he does an action, he takes the act seriously. He's not playing around with the act. He's not doing it for the sake of it. He's not doing it to get to the end of it. He's not doing it to show off. He's not doing it for a perfunctory reason. He takes the act seriously. When I got married, and the good wife asks you to do something around the house, sometimes if you don't do it properly, you'll be, well, I could have just done it myself, right? If you're going to do the act, if you're going to do it properly. If you're going to clean the kitchen, do it properly. Don't do a half job, putting in 50% of the effort, right? That's normal in our own lives. But can you imagine now our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You see, what did the ayah say? The condition of la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun, one of them was when amana wa aslaha, to make improvements in the self. You see, if my salah is this level at this age, by the time I age 5 years or age 10 years, I want my salah to have improved. If my salah is the same as it was 10 years ago, or my recitation of the Quran 10 years ago, or my akhlaq was the same as 10 years ago, if my efforts in the community was the same as when I was, when I was 18, as to when I am now 30, my life has shifted, my concerns should have shifted, my efforts should have shifted as well. If I am the same, then there is no genuine improvement in myself. Allah wants to see that trajectory of growth in us, like He does in anything else. You go to the gym, you start out with just the bar, nothing else. You can't push anything more than that. But if you walk out of the gym after 6 months, still only being able to push the bar, there's something wrong with the effort that you have put in, correct or not? No one would accept it. No one would accept after 6 months of paying that membership if you go to the gym. You pay it and some people don't go. If you're going weekly, if you're going 2, 3, 4 times a week, and you still are at the same level as where you were 6 months ago, it would have been a waste. If I'm praying 5 times a day, after 6 months, after 5 years, and my level of concentration in my salah has not improved, there is no aslaha, then what have I been doing with all that time? One hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. He says, how many people spend their days fasting and their nights in worship, but they go through nothing other than hunger in the day and exercise in the night. You see, there's prayer, but really all it is maybe exercise, or my words, yoga. You've gone into this position, you've gone into that position. You could have just done yoga, but now you've done your wudu, now you've done your niyyah. What is the difference now between this act and that act? Imam says there are some people, their salah, it's just like exercise for them. They're just going into one position and another. Surely, man amana wa aslaha, that there is improvement in my life. What does the hadith say that we said from the Prophet? Allah loves إِذَا عَمِلَ عَمِلًا. A person does an act, أَتْقَنَهُ. He takes it seriously. He puts in the effort that is required, that is demanded for it to become a worthwhile act. This is one way to ensure that there is improvement in that which we are doing on a day-to-day, on a month-to-month, on a year-to-year basis, that we're able to see a trajectory of growth because we take it seriously. The act is actually something that we place at the forefront of our mind and consciousness when we do the act. It's not something that is in the background of what we're doing. This is one. Another hadith that comes to us from the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Such a beautiful narration. And again, it's very similar to the previous narration, but actually it gives us a description of Jannah that is so enticing, that is well worth reflecting on and reading together. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi is narrated to have said to his companions, ذَاتَ يَوْمٍ لِأَصْحَابِهِ. One day he said to his companions, أَلَا مُشَمِّرٌ لِلْجَنَّةِ. Is there none of you who are ready to roll up your sleeves and work hard for Jannah? You see, the imagery is so nice, isn't it? You go and do the gardening, what do? You roll up your sleeves, it's a show of readiness, right? I'm ready to get my hands messy. The Prophet uses this sort of language, this analogy, to show that hard work has to accompany the act. It's not simple of just sitting. There is effort that is required in order to earn Jannah. Allah mushammirun lil Jannah. Is there none who will roll up their sleeves to gain Jannah? فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ لَا خَطَرَ لَهَا هِيَ وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ نُورٌ يَتَلَأْلَأُ وَرَيْحَانَةٌ تَهْتَزُّ وَقَصْرٌ مَشِيدٌ وَنَهْرٌ مُضْطَرِدٌ وَفَاكِهَةٌ كَثِيرَةٌ. The hadith continues in a lengthy hadith. Is there none who will strive hard for paradise? There is nothing like paradise. By the Lord of the Kaaba, paradise is like a sparkling light. It is like sweet basil waving in the breeze. It is like a lofty palace, a flowing river, abundant ripe fruit, a beautiful wife, many fine garments, in a place of eternal abode, in ease and luxury, in beautiful, strong-built houses. This is Jannah that is awaiting for you. Do you know how the companions responded? They responded by saying, قَالُوا نَحْنُ الْمُشَمِّرُونَ لَهَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. We are ready to roll up our sleeves and put the effort in, Ya Rasulullah. Jannah isn't free. The cost of it is your soul. To refine the soul. To make it that much, a little bit better than it was yesterday. To make it that much better than it was last year. Than what it was 10 or 20 years ago. And effort, sometimes it's very difficult. To be able to wake up, to not have that sleep, beauty sleep. To have that rest. It's easier to just roll back onto the pillow, isn't it? It's easier to put the feet up, isn't it? But in nowhere else in life does anyone get anywhere with that attitude. Studies, you have to put the effort in. Work, you have to put the effort in. Family and parenting, you have to put the effort in. Community, for it to be a success, you have to put the effort in. Wouldn't the deen of Allah and earning Jannah be exactly the same, that it requires a demand of effort to be able to get there? But when one does it, the outcome is so incredible that the soul has become so pure, so perfect, that it can become prophet-like. One of the scholars, Ran Ayatollah, Sayyid Muhammad Taqi al-Mudarrisi, the Marja of Karbala, he tells us about his father, Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Kadhim al-Mudarrisi. Sayyid Muhammad Kadhim had habituated himself to the act of Salat al-Layl. Never missed it. Make sure he would, no matter what the situation was, he would wake up for his Salat al-Layl. Requires effort, doesn't it? Who wants to drag themselves away from their comfy bed half an hour before Fajr? Fajr is wajib, but now to get up and do something extra, who wants to do that? Sayyid Muhammad Kadhim al-Mudarrisi wanted to do it. So Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Taqi says about his father, Ayatollah said Kadhim in the last day of his life. The last day of Sayyid Kadhim's life, Sayyid Muhammad Kadhim's life, Allah yarhamhu, he had been admitted into hospital. He had been ill for a long, long time. And he required some surgery. The anesthetist said to him, I'm going to put you under. You'll have your surgery. And we will put you under such that you will probably sleep now for the next 7-8 hours. Sayyid Muhammad Kadhim said, before you put me under, I need to know the time, the exact time of Salat al-Fajr, and I need my watch to be sort of, next to you on the desk where your hospital bed is. You're always going to get a little desk or something next to you. He said, I want my watch there so I can wake up and I know what time it is and I know what time I have to get up. The doctor said, get up for what? Fajr, Salat al-Layl, I have to wake up. Sayyid Muhammad Taqi says, the doctor laughed at my father. Not in a bad way, but laughed. He said, we're going to put you under anesthetic. You're going in for a long surgery. By the time you come out, it's going to be a lengthy amount of time you're going to be under anesthetic. You won't wake up for 7, 8, 10 hours. There's no chance of you waking up for your Fajr. Sayyid Taqi said, no, my father does not miss his Salat al-Layl. And true it was. that even though he was heavily sedated, under anesthetic, and only a couple of hours out of surgery, Sayyid Taqi says, my father, on his own, woke up for his Salat al-Layl, and prayed his Salat al-Layl, and prayed his Salat al-Fajr, and died immediately after. His last act was to pray his Salat al-Layl, his Salat al-Fajr, and then die. Why? Because that was the culmination of his life. You see, everything he had done, all of that trajectory of growth had culminated in that moment for him to depart with that as his final moment to God. Sayyid Taqi al-Mudarrisi says, my father visited me in my dream 3 days after. And I said to him, what was death like? What's the ayah we are studying? لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. You shall have no fear. You shall have no grief. You'll enjoy. Death will be pleasant. It will be there for you to enjoy. Oh Father, what was death like for you? Sayyid Muhammad Qadim said, my son, death was like the word dhahaba. Dhahaba in the Arabic language means to go. He said it was as quick as the word dhahaba. And it was so quick that when I stood up and I fell because the angel of death took my soul, it was like the ha between the letters dha and ba, dhahaba. How quick is dhahaba? Can you see? How quick is the word dhahaba? It was like the ha between the dha and the ba, dhahaba. That's how quick I went, and I departed from this world comfortably. That was my last moment. It's available. But it puts effort, it requires effort. Man amana wa aslaha. To have that improvement, to have that trajectory of growth, to put that effort in. Who is going to be mushammir? Who's going to roll up their sleeves and work hard for Jannah? The Prophet asks. Is it simply sitting at home when the majlis is on? Is it sitting at home when the community needs volunteers? Is it sitting at home when the madrasa needs teachers? Is it not contributing when the community needs funds? What is it that we need? Alhamdulillah, Marhuma Doctor and the family are so known in the community for the efforts that they put in to establish this community. Where would the community be without them? Financial and efforts and time and participation within the community. And you can see the outcome of it till today. Can you see? The efforts that people put in, they're not forgotten. And they earn Jannah. This is the rolling up of the sleeves that the Prophet was talking about. The outcome, لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Marhuma can be enjoying the description of Jannah that the Prophet ﷺ gave. But think about this now. That next generation that comes after Marhuma, the one after that as well, the family onwards, also requires all of our participation to live on with that legacy, to benefit from that legacy, to make sure it doesn't stop. All those efforts that were put in 10, 20, 30 years ago, otherwise what comes of it? What did we say earlier at the beginning? One of the reasons why we have huzn is that we fear what's going to happen after us. You've spent a lifetime serving the community, and if those after you don't put in, you feel like your efforts, who's going to carry them on after? There's a khawf there. There's a huzn there. Allah can protect us from that. But we have to do our bit as well. We have to make sure that we are always there present, carrying on that legacy of someone who rolled up their sleeves, who helped in the community, established it from the very beginning to give us what we have until today. And these are the two hadith that I wanted to be able to mention. The Prophet said, he who has amila amilan atqanahu, he works hard, he takes it seriously, he rolls up his sleeves. They improve themselves And the outcome is لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. This is the type of personality we are remembering this afternoon, this evening. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless Marhuma with the highest level of Jannah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant the whole family and community sabrun jameel at her passing. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ensure that her work and efforts live on in the community and in the practices of her family as well, inshaAllah. Can you imagine the grief of losing a mother? Can you imagine the grief of Imams Hassan and Hussein at losing their mother? Can you imagine the grief of Sayyidah Zainab and Kulthum losing their mother? 3 children Marhuma left behind, correct? The pain can't be described, it can't be understood. But in moments like this, at least we can remember what Imams Hassan and Hussein, Lady Zainab and Kulthum were going through. Can you imagine Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam lying on her deathbed? And can you imagine the last time she knows she is going to hug her beloved Hassan and Hussein? Oh my Hassan, I fear what is going to happen after you. My whole life I raised you to flourish. There will come a time when someone will poison you and you will spit out part of your insides. My beloved Zainab and Kulthum, I raised you to be strong, to be outspoken, to uphold your hijab. But there will come a time when people will place their chains around you. They will parade you from city to city. They will lash you every time you try to speak out. You will have to try to protect the children of the family. Oh, my daughter Zainab and Kulthum, in what state will I leave you in? Can you imagine Fatima al-Zahra looking into the eyes of her beloved Hussein? In what state do I leave you? To whom do I entrust you, O Hussein, to? It is your own ummah that is going to behead you, Ya Hussein. It is your own ummah that is going to deny you water and food on your last days, O Hussein. It is your own ummah that is going to fire arrows at your body, such that when you fall from your horse, you will have so many arrows in your body that your body will resemble that of a porcupine or a hedgehog. It will be your own ummah that will throw stones at you because they want to kill you, but none of them dares step forward but one by the name of Shimr bin Dil-Joshan. Can you imagine what Fatima al-Zahra must be feeling when she opens her arms to be able to embrace Hussein for one last time? Know that whenever someone embraces one another, not only do they hug around the shoulders, but they hold you tight. They place your neck close to you. I wonder what Fatima's last embrace of Hussein felt like when she must have taken her arm and placed it around the neck of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, bringing her son close to her bosom, smelling his fragrance, kissing him on his cheek, kissing him on his forehead. And can you imagine when she lets go and Imam al-Hussein is looking into the eyes of Fatima? Oh, my mother, what makes you cry? My arms are around you. My arm is around your neck. But there will come a time when your neck is in the hands of Shimr bin Dil-Joshan. He will lift your head from your shoulders and raise your head and place it upon a spear. Can you imagine the last moments of a mother looking towards her children, knowing that she is departing? But know, O Fatima, what you have left behind in this world and what lives on after you and takes on your legacy. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Please raise your hands and join me in dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, to allow us to be alongside him at all times in our life and in our death. If we are to pass away from this world before his coming, Ya Allah, raise us from our graves so that we can partake in the victories of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Ya Allah, this evening's majlis is dedicated to Dr. Marhuma for all of her efforts in her professional life, in her private life, in her community life. Grant her the highest Jannah, inshaAllah. And just as the verses of the Quran promised, let there be no khawf upon her, and no huzn upon her. Grant her family and community sabrun jameel. And we ask Allah to grant us the tawfiq to be able to walk in her path and to be able to take from the examples that she has left behind in our community. Walhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Wa salli ya Rabbi ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin. In order to grant her this extra thawab, please conclude this discussion with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Maulana Sahib, for some deeply insightful comments in your talk, and thank you, Rasul, as always, for all the arrangements that you've made again, and thank you all for coming to this majlis. Make your mind up and do it. Fight for your rights. Be strong and independent. Learn from everything and everyone. Ammi offered many pearls of wisdom to us when we were growing up, until they became mantras in our minds. Parents carry great responsibility for their loved ones. Are they eating well? Did they complete their school homework? Did they sleep properly last night and the night before? And what about the night before that? Did they brush their teeth? The worries of a parent are relentless, and their role is most significant because their mother and father are the child's whole world. No wonder Prophet Muhammad said that heaven lies beneath the feet of your mother. The children may not realize it at the time, but it's the parents that give the structure, and this becomes the foundation for the rest of their lives. Our collective parents are nurturing the future generations for all of us. And as I now reflect on parenting, I've come to realize that good parenting is both giving solid structure as well as unconditional love and support. You hope, then, that your children will lead a happy, dutiful, and good life. You hope to make them strong and independent and able to function when you are gone. Ammi was such a parent, and we are blessed to have had her caring and loving us as our mother. And as we celebrate her life's work, we can truly appreciate everything that Ammi did for us, and then beyond her immediate family, for the community. Ammi cared deeply about community, and especially about helping women who were suffering, unable to have choices. She also helped poor students to carry on and complete their education. And sometimes we even had students living in the house for a few months whilst they sorted themselves out.
MashaAllah.
Of course, Ammi was devoted to the Imam Bargah and spent much time here. Ammi prayed and always tried to perform good deeds. Remember, she would say, time is short on earth. Don't waste your time. And as a doctor, she found joy and satisfaction helping fellow humans when they were suffering physically or mentally. Ammi loved watching the detective series Columbo, and I sensed that her vocation was being a sort of detective, figuring out what was wrong with her patients and then helping them. Ammi always remained very curious. In everything she did, Ammi had a relentless drive for excellence. she would not settle for less. She would roll her sleeves up, as Malana said. She would fight and fight hard for justice, energy and passion everywhere. Of course, with her age, her energy dropped, and her heart was broken when Abu passed away. But Ammi kept going, offering daily help and advice to her loved ones. Even recently, she was guiding my son Ali through his school tests and advising me on how to steer him to perform well in them. Always offering love, always with good intention, and contributing selflessly for the greater good. It's now possible to see the arc of Ammi's life and to look again in celebration of everything which she did and everything which she accomplished. Her life now squeezed into just a few words, and in a moment, her life on earth was over. But her energy and passion and drive lives on because she scattered the earth with this gift. Mother took us from time zero to independence. She completed what she had set out to do on this earth, and then her work was done. Shukriya Ammi. May Allah grant her amongst the highest levels in heaven.
متوجه زيارة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن عجل الله فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهوره. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات اللهم صل. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. May I personally and from the community offer condolences to Brother Mustafa and all the family. Personally, I have recently, about 4 months ago, my mother also passed away, so I know exactly how you feel. May Allah grant all the mothers and fathers in the highest station in paradise, inshallah.